Welcome back to Principles of Statistics. In this session, we will be dealing with descriptive statistics from Chapter 2. First of all, keep in mind that there are two kinds of data that we will be working with, or that all statisticians work with. First are so-called categorical data, which are labels or names that identify categories of like items. And there are quantitative data, which are numerical values. For this course, we will be dealing much more with so-called quantitative data, but it will also be helpful to familiarize yourselves with categorical data, what they are, and how we handle them. Here's one example of categorical data. For instance, look at the following raw data for Marada Inn. So they sampled 20 guests, and they asked each guest to rate the quality of accommodations. The choices were excellent, above average, average, below average, or poor. As you can see, these are all the responses. Now, as it currently stands, this data set is not going to be very useful because there's just a lot of information and they're not well arranged, so we can't really see the patterns. What we do next is as follows. We group all the similar responses and tally how many have responded for each category. So for instance, 2 guests said that the quality of accommodation was poor, 3 said below average, and so on. And as you will see, the total of all these responses is 20. There's another way we can usefully organize categorical data to enable us to obtain insights. So we can also look at what are called frequency distributions and charts. Let's consider the concept of frequency distribution first. The percent frequency of each class or each category is the relative frequency multiplied by 100. A percent frequency distribution is then just a summary in tabular form showing the percent of the responses that show up in each category. So let's look at the following table. As you will see, the relative frequency of the responses that said accommodation was poor was 0.1. Or, if you look at it in the second column in terms of percent frequency, it's 10%. How do we get that? Because 2 divided by 20 is 0.1, which is in the first column. But 0.1 is also 10%, which is in the second column. Let me pause for a while and allow you to calculate and see for yourself why the values for below average are 0.15 and 15 respectively. As I hope you've seen for yourself, the 0.15 for below average in the first column is equal to, let's go back to that tabulation, that's equal to 3, the number of people who said that the accommodation was below average, divided by 20, the total number of respondents. Hence, 3 over 20 is 0.15, which is also 15%. Quite obviously, the sum of each column must be 1 in the case of the first column, or 100 in the case of the second column, because all these responses exhaust all possibilities. Now this is helpful, but as they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So another way we deal with data is by creating so-called charts. So there are 2 types, bar charts and pie charts. How do we construct a pie chart? First, on the horizontal axis, we specify the labels. So in this case, the labels are poor, below average, average, above average, etc. Right? And then on the vertical axis, what we do is we delineate the values, whether relative frequency or percent frequency of each category. This is just a matter of aesthetics. Usually bars of fixed width are drawn and the bars are separated. So let's look at the result. So as you can see here, on the horizontal axis there are 5 categories. corresponding to the 5 classes, to the 5 possible responses. And the height of each bar corresponds to the frequency of the bar. So for instance, poor, as you remember, 20%, two people said that the accommodation was poor, hence the height is 2. 9 people said that the accommodation was above average, and that's it. That is what you will see in the gray bar. The pie chart, on the other hand, uses a circle. What we do is we draw a circle and then we create slices corresponding to the relative frequency for each class. So for instance, if the class has a relative frequency of 0.25 or 25%, and since the circle covers 360 degrees, then that category should cover us should have a slice that covers 90 degrees of the circle. Let's now look at the pie chart for the ratings of accommodations at Marada Inn. There. So for instance, if you will remember, 5% said that the accommodation was excellent. So let me pause and allow you to calculate for yourself how many degrees in the circle should the category excellent cover. Did you get the right answer? It should be 5% of 360 degrees, or 0.05 times 360, which is 18 degrees. What are the insights we gained from the preceding pie chart? 1/2 of the customers said that Marada accommodations were above average or excellent. We can see that, for instance. Let me go back. This is the left side. Above average, 45%. Excellent, 5%. They add up to 50%. So as you can see, half of the pie is accounted for by people who rated accommodations as above average or excellent. Now the nice thing here is that graphically you can already see how satisfied customers were, or their degree of satisfaction. Here's another insight we can get. For each customer who gave an excellent rating, there were 2 customers who gave a poor rating. How do we see that? Excellent, 5% said excellent, and 10% said poor. 10% is twice 5%.